Hello everyone and welcome to Iain's Bricks. I'm Iain and I'm just going to have a short roundup today of how my recent trip to the Milton Keynes Brick Festival went. You probably see my video. I'll leave a link in the description and also at the end of this video to the actual day itself. But it was basically very successful. I'd been to one of these events back in October of 2021 and I thought that was quite good, but I actually far exceeded how successful it would be the second time round. It was really successful. So I just sort of wanted to talk you through a few things, sort of why it was so successful, how, and sort of how the day went really. So for me, Milton Keynes is quite a long drive. If I didn't have to go that far, I wouldn't, but I knew it was a decent event to go to. For me, it's around about a 2.5 hour drive away, so it's quite a long way to go, but in this particular instance it was definitely worth it because, you know, I sold a lot of stuff, sold a lot of Lego, which is ultimately what you wanting to do in these things, is sell some Lego. Yeah, I had to get up really early on the Saturday morning. I think I set off from home at about 4:45 in the morning to get to the event for 7:30. Set up was from 7:30 onwards. The setup went really well. I'd done it once before, so I kind of knew what to expect. So much so that I'd put everything out, everything was ready by 9:30. That gave me half an hour to sort of relax and just make sure everything was fine before the doors opened at 10. And I sort of instantly could tell that compared to the event in October, there was a lot more people through the doors within that first hour than there were last time. I think the Brick Festivals charge around about £10 for adults in the first hour, and it's £5 after that. I think there are family tickets and other children's prices as well, which do differ. But yeah, so you sort of pay a premium to get in for the first hour. And I do remember the last time in October that I only actually sold one item for about £40 within the first hour. And I was sort of thinking at the time, oh no, this is going to be a disaster. But second time around, I lost count of how many things I sold in the first hour. So I knew from the start it was going to be really busy. And I think what was most impressive was that I was able to sell quite a few of my larger items. So most of the items I took with me to this event in May 2022 were pretty much all the same items that I took last time, plus a few others. I'd obviously sold a few last time, so I needed to bring a few other things. But here is basically a list of the big items that I actually managed to sell. So I managed to sell the original Death Star, which is set 10188. That was originally released in 2009. I'll give you some prices as well. So I think my original price for this I bought for £275. So not the biggest return on this one, but I sold it for £430. So it's still a decent return. I think they can go for a little bit more than that, but I was happy with that. That was a figure I was sort of okay with. And at the end of the day, it's a set that I've had for quite some time, so for me, you know, it just creates a bit of space. I was able to sell something. I have got a couple of more of these at home, so it wasn't the last one I ever owned, so I was sort of quite pleased to sell that. I also managed to sell another Fire Brigade 10197. Now I sold one of these last time and I sold another one this time. This is originally from 2010. I bought this for £100 and I sold it this time for £380. So a big profit on that one. So that's really good. But I've had it a very long time. I probably bought it back in about 2012. So I've had it for 10 years. That's a long time to hang on to a Lego set. You know, at the end of the day, yes, it's a long time to hang on to it, but it's sold, and that was the most important thing. I also sold the Big Ben set. This is set number 10253. This was originally from 2016, so a little bit newer than the other two sets. And I bought this for actually a weird price of £144. I can't remember where I got it from. I must have got a discount from John Lewis or something. I can't remember. Anyway, £144 is what I spent for it, and I sold it for £360. So that's a really good return on investment on that one. I probably bought that one in 2017, 2018. But again, you know, 4 or 5 years for me to hang on to a set is quite a long time, but a really good return on investment on that. That was the only one of those I've ever owned, so I've never actually built one of those myself, so it's very difficult sometimes to sell sets that you know that you're never going to be able to build yourself. But this is the part of Lego investing which can be quite difficult, but at the end of the day, if you're making a decent profit on it after a few years, it's certainly worth hanging on to these sets in sealed conditions. I also managed to sell my Ideas Old Fishing Store set. That's set number 21310. Again, this is the only one of these I ever bought. This was from 2017 and originally cost £140, and I sold it for £290. So again, more than double my money on that one. Again, I probably only bought that in 2019, so probably only had that one for about 3 years. 3 to 4 years perhaps. I can't remember the exact dates. But yeah, again, the only one I've ever bought. But again, to double your money in 3 to 4 years is pretty good, so pleased to sell that one. I also managed to sell my Medieval Market Village 10193. This is another one of the really old sets, originally from 2009. I bought this for £70 back in the day, and I managed to sell it for £260. So again, a really good sort of return on investment for a set, but again, I've had it for a long time, kept it in good condition. Again, I took this to my last sale, it didn't sell last time, so tried again this time and it sold. I also had the Star Wars Jedi Starfighter and Hyperdrive set 75191. That's from 2017, so slightly more recent, and I bought this for £72. And I managed to sell it for £190. Now, I'd noticed, I took this with me last time to the October event, and I'd had a couple of people look at it, but they were sort of, I think I was asking £185 for it last time, and a few people thought that was overpriced, but I've noticed that in the last 6 to 8 months, the prices on eBay of that particular set have really gone up. So I was a bit cheeky and I increased the price on this one to £190, and it sold, which was fantastic. But again, the box was in great condition. It's a really, really nice set, so I'm sort of really pleased that I was able to sell that set on. Another set I managed to sell was the Mini, the Creator Mini, this set number 10242. This was originally from 2015. I can't remember when I bought these, but I think I bought them quite early on. There were actually 2 different box designs for this, so mine was the original box. So I think I probably had these since 2015, 2016. So again, 6 years, it's quite a long time, but I bought these for £75, and I sold them for £175. Now again, I took this to my last sale in October. I had them priced at £190. They didn't sell. I actually took 2 with me, so I had 2 minis that I took, and I actually sold both of them for £175. So really, really pleased to sell those. I think I have one more tucked away somewhere in my attic, so again, it's not the last one of those I've ever got. And I do actually have one of those myself. You can probably see it on my shelf there. I'm not sure whether you can see that or not. Is my sign in the way? Oh, there we go. There we go. So the Mini is just there on my shelf. It's a great set. So I was sort of really, really pleased to sell both of those. And there was actually a few sets I managed to sell 2 of. I took a few duplicates of sets which I thought, I had a couple of, and a few of them actually did sell. So there's many other sets that I did sell. They were the sort of the biggest sellers that I had. They were the ones that sold for the most money. And there were plenty of other sets, sort of around the sort of £50 mark, which I sold. Loads of smaller sets. One thing that did sell particularly well were the free gifts with purchase. I took quite a few of those. I took 1 of each. Things like the Amelia Earhart, the Ideas sailboat. There were various sets I got recently over the last year or so. And again, I think I priced those pretty well. I had a look on eBay before I went and got some reasonable prices for things. And yeah, I just hope that the people that sort of bought things from me were actually pleased with the prices that they pay. I did have a look around at the sale, the event, to see what kind of other prices that people were charging for sets. And some of the prices I thought were quite high. I know at the end of the day with these events that you need to make a profit, and that's the idea of the game. But ultimately, it's down to me to price those items, and sometimes you maybe overprice things, sometimes maybe you underprice things, or maybe I could have got more for that. But at the end of the day, if you're making a profit on something, if you're selling something, then you've got to be happy that the amount of profit that you're making is sort of good enough, kind of matches what you want to make. I did put prices on all of my items, and there were a couple of people that did try and barter. You know, people sort of asked me what the best price is and things like that. And I did occasionally, for the higher items, knock maybe £10–20 off. I did try with somebody, he tried to knock £40 off a set, said meet you halfway, and he says, oh, I'll think about it and come back, and he didn't come back. So you're going to get instances like that where people sort of try it on maybe and try and offer you less than it's worth. So you just got to know in your mind the price that you want to sell sets for, so that you're actually making a reasonable enough profit. At the end of the day, you're there to sell things, but ultimately, if you don't feel as though you want to sell something to somebody for a much lower price, then you don't have to. You can take it home with you, like I did last October. I took a load of these sets back with me last time, didn't sell them, took them back 6 months later, and pretty much sold them all. So it can work in your favour that way as well. I will say though, I did, from my original prices last October, I did look at all the prices again, and in a lot of cases I did actually lower the price of items by, you know, maybe £5 here, £10 there for some of the bigger items. Even some of the smaller items I was knocking £1 or £2 off here and there, where I thought maybe I'd overpriced them a bit last time. So anyway, it swings and roundabouts, but ultimately you're there to sort of to make the sales. Sales wise, I don't really want to sort of discuss exactly how much I actually made at this this particular thing. That's kind of for me to know. But what I do want to sort of share with you is that obviously the more that I sell, the more sort of profit and the more percentage profit I'm going to actually make on any one of these sales. The costs involved in attending one of these. So for me, the table, it was £46 per table, and I had 2 tables like I did last time. So straight away you've got £92 of sort of costs that you sort of you need to sort of bear in mind when you're doing one of these particular things. And I do know that depending on the event, the prices can vary vastly. I know there's a local toy fair near me, which I'll be going to later in the year. They charge £20 a table. There's another event I'm going to, again close to home, but they're, you know, a big sort of convention, and they're going to be charging £100 a table. So there can be a really big discrepancy between the cost of these tables depending on the fair. And the likelihood is the more that you spend on a table, the more chance of more people are going to be there and the more things you're going to sell. That's not always the case. I've been to the same fair twice now, and the amount of money that I made was basically 3 times different. So the amount of money I took in October, I made more than 3 times as much in the last event. So it really can vary. You've just got to get your pricing right, and just sort of get everything right, really. So just be aware of costs of any event. Also other costs as well. Because it was quite a way, 2.5 hour drive, it cost me around about £50 in petrol, gas to actually get there and back. My little car was packed to the gunnels, as you probably saw from the video. Yeah, you've got to sort of factor in things like gas and petrol in. And there's also a few hidden costs as well. So I put all my items in Ziploc bags. There's a cost towards those. I buy little sticky labels for them all to go on and things like that. And also any money that I took on a credit card, there are costs involved in that as well. Now I use this thing called the Sum Up card here, which originally cost me £20, I think. I bought it a couple of years ago. It still works okay. The signal within the event was a little bit poor, so I did struggle sometimes to get signal. I was having to take people to the fire exit to actually make their payments. But the original cost of this of £20, basically I didn't have to pay for this again. So the charges that they charge for the fees, should I say, the company Sum Up, they charge 1.69% for every purchase. So what happens is you take the money on the card, it shows up, say if you sell something for £100, it'll show up £100, but when you get your money back, you'll get 1.69% less than that. So you'll get like £98.30 back when the payment comes through. It takes a day or two for those payments to come through back into your bank. But yeah, again, it works really, really good. You literally just take the money, you can check whether everything's been successful, and then you get the money through a day or two later, and it worked absolutely fine. So but the important thing for me was I mean, I just had to have one of these because I think 3/4 of all the money that I took at the event was on a card. So I did take quite a bit of cash as well, but most of it was on card. And you can't expect people when they're buying sets for £300-400 to sort of just have that money in cash. And even some of the smaller sales, I didn't mind selling on the cards. The limits for these, you can sell anything over £1, and I think because I wasn't selling any minifigures this time, I was just selling poly bags and box sets. I think the cheapest price I had on my stall was £3. But again, even if you sell something for £3, it's only going to take about 5 or 6 pence off the price of that. You hardly notice it, and ultimately, your aim is to sell things, and selling on a credit card and contactless, whatever that payment is such an important thing at these sales. And I was chatting to a lady who came over later and said that there was a lady who was in a stall next to them further in the event, that she didn't have a card machine, and she was turning business away. And ultimately at these things you've got to be prepared to take card payments. I think for an initial payment of £20 in the UK, they can vary in price. I've seen them as low as 16, sometimes they're 30, and I'm sure in other countries they are available at different prices as well. But you've got to have, if you're going to go to one of these things, you've got to have one of these card readers, and there are various other ones out there as well. Get one with a good rate. I think charging you a set fee for all of your payments that you make, I think is a great idea. So look into things like this before you even think about attending any one of these events, because it's definitely worth it. Things that didn't sell, I didn't sell my greengrocer, unfortunately. I mean, I did reduce the price of that. I had it on at £1,200 back in October. I put it on again, and I put it on £1,100. Again, I had interest. I had one guy sort of try to barter a little bit, so I gave him a slightly better price. He says, I need to speak to my wife first, but unfortunately he never came back. So yeah, hopefully soon I'll be able to sell one of my greengrocers, but I've still got it. It's not as though it's going anywhere. It's not really depreciating in value at the moment, so it'll hopefully sell one day. And there was a few of the other larger sets as well that didn't sell. But mainly, I mean, I was just really pleased with how many things did sell. I mean, if I sort of show you some pictures very quickly, this is kind of what my stall looked like before. You can see how many sets I've got. I've got them all sort of stacked up at the back. And then if I sort of show you this selfie that I took towards the end of the sale, you can see that there's not a lot left on my stall. I did have a few items tucked under the table as well, like duplicates and things like that, which I obviously, as soon as I sold one, I'd put more stuff back on my table as well. So the amount of sales that I have, I was more than happy with. I have to say, I think if I do go to another one of these things, that I may not be as successful as I was last time. The reasons to the success, I think one of the reasons is that the guy that runs this, I forget his name now, so apologies if you're watching, but he did come over and chat to me. He had a stall as well, and he said that they'd sold a lot more tickets for this particular event than last October. Last October, you've got to remember that there were still COVID restrictions in place to some extent. I don't think you had to wear masks and things, but I think people were still quite cautious last October. So they sold more tickets, and also they're getting the word out. This was the 4th one of these Milton Keynes Brick Festivals that they'd done. And I think word's getting around now that it's actually a really good event, and it's not. He wants these events, this guy, just to be not just to be displays and dioramas and wonderful things that people build. They're great, but he wants people to be able to buy Lego as well, because ultimately it's a Lego event, and people like to look at stuff, but they want to buy Lego as well. They've got money to part with, and again, I was a little sceptical with the timing, because the event was in May. It's not near Christmas. With cost of living prices going up, whether it's petrol, fuel, things like that, I did think, is this going to be any good? Because people maybe haven't got as much expendable income at the moment. But how wrong can you be? As I say, people were just willing to part with the money. But again, was that because I got my pricing right? I hope so, because I don't want to be one of these sort of sellers where people say, you don't want to go to Iain's Bricks because he's a bit of a rip-off. You've got to get the price right. I mean, some of the prices that I sell things at are going to be fairly high, but then you know, that's the cost, that's the going rate. If you look on eBay, that's the kind of price that you're sort of looking at if you had to buy this on the secondary market. That's how much you'd have to pay. So I'm hoping in that respect I do keep my prices reasonably competitive, and hope that in the future, if anybody comes to another one of my sales, that they'll be, you know, feel happy enough to be able to know that my prices are good. And I did see some people there as well. They were looking at my prices, going on eBay, having a look on the internet, saying, and then saying, well, actually that's a really good price, I'll buy that. So in that respect, I'm actually quite glad, you know, that kind of works for me as well. And I'm aware that I could have, if I put my prices up higher, I may have sold some more stuff. But ultimately, if they don't sell, you've got to take everything back with you, which is fine. You've still got the item, but ultimately you're there to sell things. So sell it at the right price. Do your bit of research before you go on one of these sales. But ultimately, I would suggest that if you've got quite a lot of stuff to sell, and certainly if you've got some larger items like I had, I think one of these larger sales is definitely worth looking into attending. I think you need to have enough stock to be able to have a variety of things. I did have some small poly bags, smaller sets, all, you know, obviously all boxed and sealed, medium, large sets, and some big sets as well. So I had a real range of different themes and genres. I had Star Wars, Harry Potter, City, Creator, general stuff like that. So just mix up what you take with you. But ultimately, you know, these things can be quite successful, but you get a lot of luck involved as well. I think I was very, very lucky with just the event as a whole, that it was so successful, and also the fact that people were willing to pay the prices that I was asking. So anyway, I've probably rambled on far too long. I hope you have enjoyed this video. I say I don't want to discuss too much about the actual totals that I sort of made in this video. You know, I appreciate people sort of not asking how much I sort of made and things like that. But profit-wise, it was certainly well worth going to. I'd certainly do one of these brick festivals again. They hold them all over the UK. I know there's one in London. This year they've got new ones in Oxford and Birmingham and other places as well. And they're going to continue the Milton Keynes ones. Hopefully they're going to start doing a few more a little bit closer to where I live, because I'd certainly be very interested in going to one of their events as a seller again, because it was definitely worthwhile. Anyway, much appreciate your time. Thank you very much for watching this video. And as always, take care.